Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. This is episode 13 and also week 13 of marathon training and marathon prep. So I will go through that as usual. Another week in the books, learning lots, challenging myself a bit and really starting to get outside that comfort zone with it now. But again, that's all part and parcel of it. And then also something again that kind of goes through my thoughts when I'm out running or conversations with clients and things is, what happens when the training doesn't go to plan and things start getting in the way, and it's how you react to that and what you do on the other side of that is what I suppose determines whether you continue on or like that, just go through a stop and start cycle of training and exercises and then ultimately not really getting where you want to be with it. So few points to touch on there about that you might find helpful, or if you're someone that kind of struggles with starting back in the gym and then kind of stopping when I suppose life things happen, and some ways that might help navigate around that. But first of all, we go through the training week of last week. So we're in the 5 week mark now to the marathon. So it's really starting to come around quick now. This week the long run now was up to 29 kilometers, with a 6 and a 9k as well. So still holding on to 3 sessions a week. Thankfully and surprising actually that I'm still able to do the 3 week. It hasn't had too much of a negative effect that I have to pull one of those runs or anything. So that's really good. I had to book in a few physio sessions as well. Just things were starting to get tight, particularly in my hips and glutes and things. Again, all to be expected, from the amount of running I'm doing to a point like this. I'm well beyond any distances I've ever ran before, and volume of running I've done. So you're bound to, regardless of how much stuff you do, you're bound to pick up something. But again, nothing that's going to stop you. It just needs to be managed. Um, and the legs feeling a bit tired and stuff like that. But again, you're at the stage now where that's just normal coming into the last couple of weeks of a block of big blocks of training. Again, it's how you manage it is the most important part of it. So like that, get a few physio sessions in, doing loads of mobility, stretching, things like that, hydration, sleeping, nutrition, just making sure it's kind of kept all in check, to kind of get me through the last kind of 2 long runs I have to do before start tapering off and let the body start recovering and hopefully feel as good and as fresh as possible for the run. And something now that I'm starting to get, and I kind of mentioned probably week on week, is the mental side of this. I find now I'm getting into the habit, which I need to work on this week's run, is when I get kind of into the low 20 kilometers or mid 20 kilometers, I start thinking about how long I still have to go on the day, I suppose. Which again doesn't go well, because like that, it plays with your mood and it plays with your outlook and stuff. So it's definitely something that you're having to train as well, is a mental resilience and a calmness about just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and trying to, suppose again, deflect that when it comes up. So that's something I'm really going to focus on in this week's long run, is kind of deflecting those thoughts when they come in, and try and just keep plodding along and keeping calm and keeping steady with everything. And just like that, you're just at this stage now of trying to get through each run injury free, as you can be. So that's something definitely for the next couple of weeks I need to work on. Also along with a bit of pacing, and it's not trying to get faster or trying to improve anything there. It's just trying to keep it a little bit more consistent. And again, people fall into the habit of starting out too fast, and then you kind of are chasing yourself. So it's to pace a lot easier from the start, or a lot slower, and then just kind of keep it nice and steady throughout, and just try and keep it even-ish enough pace throughout the run, that there's not these big up and downs, kind of thing. Just, I think that's personally, I'd like to have it a little bit more even. But like that, apart from all that, um, we're going not too bad. It's the it's to not let, I think the big thing is to not let things get in on the mind and the thought of I still have so much to do. And it's not even a belief that I don't think I can do it, because I know I can. It's just this kind of the time is going to pass anyway. So I need to just keep focusing on each foot in front of the other and keep focusing on just the kilometers, ticking them off one at a time, and kind of again coming back to like try to enjoy it as much as I can, because it is a process, and like that we go through these training things, and you're trying to get to an end date and get to an end goal or whatever, but it's like that it's trying to be a bit more, I suppose, present and a bit more um as enjoyable as it can be, I suppose, is the key. And to remember, like at the end of the day, I chose to do this, and I'm out here signing up for marathon and putting myself through it. So, um, it's definitely all a learning curve, as I said before. And once like keep niggles and injuries and things at bay, and we get there fresh on the day, I think that's the real win and get from A to B. So yeah, another we'll say decent enough week. We got everything done. Nutrition as well is actually really good in terms of having the energy and keeping the energy sustained throughout the run. So that's really good practice on that side. So happy enough with that I'm able to continue and hopefully replicate that again this week and keep testing the gels and kind of find what's my limit of intake with gels and nutrition as I'm running. So again, practicing that is vital and important. But yeah, all good there, and we'll continue on, keep going, and hopefully get another good week on in the legs and continue on. So, and again, this is where I kind of had the ebbs and flows, even with a little bit of motivation and uh, getting out to do the runs and being motivated about it, and like that, whether it's a marathon or just anything goal or fitness wise in general, people have this tendency to, yeah, of course, everything at the start is exciting and it's a challenge and you're looking forward to it. But then when you're in it, it's things can go against you. Thankfully, touch wood, I haven't had any injuries at all that are going to stop me. Um, but it's definitely the motivation or managing things with work and all the things that outside of the training schedule that you have to manage. And this is uh where what people do when a week doesn't go to plan and how they react to it and what they do afterwards is nearly more important than a missed session or a session not going right or not getting to the gym or not hitting a target or whatever. It's kind of what they do afterwards. And this is something I have thought about, because like that, not motivated sometimes to go out and do it. And I've, had a plan of doing X amount of distances on the shorter runs some weeks. And you know what? I've just knocked a kilometer too often. Um, like that, it meant you go out and get them done. And that's sometimes just what you had to do. So, this is where I think people can really get, uh, the hurdles can come up for people is that on the weeks they're maybe tired, there are a lot of work things going on, their family needs them for stuff, they have a lot of things going on. Sometimes you just can't be bothered and you're just not bothered with it. That's totally normal as well. But is what do you do, or how do you navigate those weeks when they come around? I think that's really important as part of the fitness journey or whatever you'd like to call it, is knowing what to do when things don't go to plan. And because it's easy when they do go to plan, it's what you do on the other side of it. So I'll set up a few examples here of, like, for example, when it could be a week where you're feeling tired, a little bit sore, but like that, not in a way that's going to stop you from doing anything, like i.e. an injury. Might just be a little bit tight somewhere or things like that, and not really in the mood for training. And people kind of treat this and training sometimes as this all or nothing approach. If I'm not doing it all in all the time, well then I'll like if I can't do it all in all the time, well then I'll just stop, or I'll I'll pack it in kind of a thing. Whereas if you think more so in, the weeks where the energy isn't fully there or whatever, just take things down a notch or two. Simple as that. The idea is you're still trying to keep the habit there. And that's a big thing I harp on about. Regardless sometimes of what the session is that week or what was on the plan, sometimes it's just about keeping the habit there, and keeping the consistency of a habit there of a time slot for yourself to get your exercise and your training in. So like that, make your sessions shorter, take out something, less sets, less reps, do something at home instead of in the gym or outside or whatever. That you just take things down a peg or two, that it still allows you to get the thing done and it still allows you to keep the habit there, as I said. I think that's a big one for people, is that they need to think they need to operate at 100% all the time. But if they only operated at 60, at 70, 80% most of the time, they'd be fairly well on, in achieving their goals, or hitting their targets, or just keeping consistent with everything. So that's first step I would consider people do, is take things down a notch. Also have structure and a plan on days where you're not feeling fully motivated, or you're stuck on time, or know what you're doing and have a plan for it. Or something, what I say to people, if they're not feeling that motivated about going in, just pick the first exercise, do 3 sets of it, and then see how you're feeling after that. If you're not into it, go home. But generally, because you're there, you start warming up, you start getting into it, and you'll stay on, and you'll keep doing it, and you'll get probably most of the session done. Because like that, when you walk into a gym and you're a little bit time crunched, or the energy is just not there, and you could spend most of your time kind of wandering around, what am I going to do? And then you actually probably end up getting nothing done. And it wasn't really worth it to you at all. Whereas if you had a plan of action going in, where you don't have to make too many decisions, don't have to think about too much, you just get in, get it done. Again, coming back to keeping the habit there, keeping the momentum there, and keeping the consistency of showing up for yourself, doing the training, doing the exercise, having a minimum effective dose within that session, that I just need to get these 3 movements done, and anything after that is a bonus. You kind of have to play with your own mind a little bit, and kind of nearly self-talk yourself into it, and have a little bit of negotiation with yourself sometimes. That's normal too. But, give yourself a chance, get in, get as much done as you can with the energy you have available to you, or the time you have available to you, and that's it. And you just move on. I think people spend too much time overthinking it and thinking, God, if I don't do everything on the program as it's written down, I won't be able to X, Y, and Z. Majority of the time it's about keeping the habit there, because otherwise you'll just start to feel like, and people would say, like, I feel like I'm going backwards because I'm not able to do everything, or I'm not able to, or this week just didn't go to plan, and now I feel like I've gone backwards. But they haven't looked at the bigger picture and looked over, okay, well, the last 4 to 6 or weeks or months or whatever, I've done really well, and I've kept really consistent, and I've seen and I feel I'm getting stronger, and I know I'm getting stronger and I'm fitter, or my clothes are fitting better. So what you're doing is right. So as in one missed session, or one half session, or one thing where maybe today I just want to go in on the bike and do half an hour and leave, and that's it. That's not going to undo all the weeks of work done before that. That's again comes back to that importance of consistency. I feel like if you could bottle consistency and sell it, you'd be a millionaire, because like that you have to find systems and ways of developing and keeping consistency. In not just training, but with anything, you have to develop a system that, okay, on certain weeks, or if you look ahead and I say, okay, I know next week it's going to be a struggle for me to get X amount of sessions in, or a time to get them in, or the time to do them. Okay, let me have a plan in place before that week happens. So I'm not just landing in the middle of that week and the week has gone by you and you haven't, you haven't had a chance to do anything. So it's really having these systems in place to help you develop a level of consistency that's going to be enough to get you where you want to get to, not feel like you're going backwards, not feel like you've gone off plan or you've gone off track. Because these are all ways people feel about if they don't go in 100%, they feel like it's not enough. Whereas doing 70% most of the time is going to get you great results and great uh, feedback from your training, because like that you've kept that level of consistency there. That's the biggest, I suppose, takeaway from that is on the weeks where things happen, life happens, energy mightn't be there, mood mightn't even be there. I suppose try maybe ask yourself a question. Okay, what is the again minimum effective dose here I might be able to do to keep me consistent, that I know when I come back into it, when the energy is up, or next week I'll have more time, that I just continue on. And it's not this big deal of falling off track or going backwards or giving up and uh, you know, stopping altogether. So that's, I suppose, the mindset of getting into of how do you develop systems to develop consistency overall. So hopefully maybe that'll help a little bit of mindset shifts or looking at ways you can solve some problems. Or if any of that kind of sounds familiar to kind of what you struggle with in your own fitness and training, feel free to reach out, message me. I'm on Instagram, KarenPersonal_PT. We can have a chat, no problem in helping you out, pointing you in a direction, and to keep the level of consistency there on the weeks where things don't go to plan, which is natural and a part of the whole thing. So how do we build the systems or build the ways of navigating that? Again, appreciate any feedback, any questions, and I'll chat again next week.